Well, welcome to another Down the Rabbit Hole video. I remember a little while ago I talked about how any D&D player worth his salt who believes in this everyday carry stuff is going to think to himself, you know, as silly as all these like screwdrivers and flashlights are, one thing that you cannot argue against is you got to have rope. And I did a whole video about that. Love having my rope on me. I haven't really used it yet or needed it yet, but as a D&D player, I always thought I need rope and have done the video. Recently, thanks to the way retail is working of late, I have discovered I need another piece of Dungeons & Dragons equipment on me at all times. No, not the tabard. No, not the chainmail. What I need is a belt pouch, and specifically this belt pouch. What is so special about this, you say? I mean, it's a fanny pack, isn't it? No, this is not something that you would put your change and your phone in or all that kind of stuff. I suppose you could, and we're going to later. But what this particular thing does, this is a foraging pouch. And I went through a couple of different versions before I settled on this one. I love this thing. I have used this thing, and it's ironically kind of necessary in this day and age. Why? Because we have entered that point now where in shopping and stuff like that, a lot of places will no longer give you a bag. They'll no longer, certainly not a plastic bag. They're encouraging you, hey, can you bring your own shopping bag with you? No problem, says I, until I was in at least a couple of situations in the shops, and I'm like, I forgot the bag, and now I'm carrying 3 or 4 items and being kind of awkwardly walking back to the car. This isn't going to work. So I thought, hey, surely to God, somebody's made some variation of like a little pouch that's very small, but could hold items, and that's what this is. This foraging pouch is fantastic. What it does, you lift it up, and it immediately deploys a bag. A little carrying bag that you can put some stuff into. Now, it's designed for, like, I don't know, you're wandering around in the wilderness and you want to take, truffles or mushrooms or berries or whatever, and you stick them in there and you wander around and stuff. But I have honestly found this a huge benefit to have a foraging pouch with me for those situations where it's like, I've just bought myself something and I'm at the cash register and they're like, hey, do you need a bag? No, my friend. I brought my own. And because this thing does fold up very nicely, you can tuck it away and it's barely even noticeable that you've got one. You just fold it up, snap the snaps, if I can, without looking. Yep, I think. Nope, got the string in the way. Anyway, snap the snaps. There you go. Now you've got it, and it's practically not even visible on you at most of the time. I love this thing. So I wanted to do just a very quick recommendation for anybody who's in the same situation I am, and maybe who's a Dungeons & Dragons player. If you're thinking to yourself, you know, it's kind of cool to have a rope on me, have a belt pouch. Have this foraging belt pouch. What I'll do first of all is say, don't cheap out on it. I first got this one off Amazon. There's a million of these, $10, $15, no problem. And this was okay. I mean, it's big. It expands out to about the same size, you know, and it's got a very decent bag inside there. Probably the same size as this. Yeah. I thought, yeah, I'll just go with this. But this was not great. And I think a lot of these real cheap ones, I would also say not great. Why? Well, at least in this particular model's case, a big problem that I ran into was it doesn't snap closed. Like, it has a snap, but it was never going. It was like, see if I can even try. Yeah. I mean, it sounds like it's snapped closed now, but the minute I would bend or twist or walk through a doorway, it would pop right open all the time, and this thing would flap as I was walking. Didn't like that too much, so don't go with the real cheap ones. Secondly, another problem that I had was, again, you're kind of walking around. You will nudge this, like especially going into like a car or something like that. You're going to get a little bit of like brushing against this thing. And in this case, it broke. It ripped right off. This material here just came right off. I don't even think this is leather. It's like some crummy material, naga hide, barely better than cardboard stuff. and it didn't last. I think I had it maybe a month, and I thought, okay, yeah, because I wanted to do a little video review. So I thought, okay, I'm not going to use that one. That's a piece of junk. So I looked around online, found a variety of higher quality artisanal foraging pouches, and I settled on this one from PlumageStudio.ca. This is a really good company. They do a variety of different types of foraging pouches, so if you want to have something with a little more style and finesse to it, totally, they are the way to go. And this particular one that I've got here, it was 45 bucks Canadian. But honestly, now that I've been wearing it for a while, I sing this thing's praises. So I'll give you a little quick rundown of it, but first I'll show you how it arrived to me from Plumage Studios. So here it is as it arrives from Plumage. There's my address underneath there. It comes very nicely packed in this paper. You know, they've taken some care with it. And there is the pouch as you get it. Now, the really nice thing about this one, compared to that Amazon one, is right here. Here's the pouch itself, and you can see from the back, it's actually got 4 little snaps holding it in place. And that's very important. The Amazon one didn't have this kind of capability or this kind of thread through, and that's nice is if you have a belt. Now this would only take maybe 1 inch, but you can just feed the belt through there, snap this guy into here, and then you've got a much more secure, not going anywhere belt pouch. Luckily, now in my case, what you've already seen is too big for that particular kind of snap or securing, but luckily on the back, as you've already seen, there is a belt loop right here, and that'll take the size of belt that I'm currently wearing, 1.5 inches, something like that. It wouldn't take a 2 inch, so if you're wanting to use this on a really big 2-inch belt, not really going to happen. But there you go. So you've got 2 options. You can snap it over a standard little belt, and that is gonna stay good and secure, not go anywhere. Or if, as the belt I'm currently wearing is too big, you've always got a nice big belt loop on the back there. Okay, so the belt pouch, the foraging belt pouch. Absolutely love how quick it can just deploy out. There's your bag, anything you need, fantastic. It's got a nice wide rim on it, so I can easily put a DVD inside there, something of that size, no problem at all. Even get myself some mead. Now, I don't know that it would, a bottle is going to kind of wobble around there. There is a drawstring on here, and we'll talk about that later. So you can at least cinch it up and just walk around with this thing. It'll hold pretty well. You are aware that there's this thing on your hip, a little bit like carrying a gun, I suppose, or a dagger in D&D terms. But it will hold. I actually had a big wooden spoon and a couple of other utensils like that sticking up out of the top once, and it was fine. It did wiggle around a bit, but as long as I didn't try and climb any ladders, I was good. So mead'll work. But as a test, let's give these little snaps a try. I've got in here, as you know, the coins of the realm. Stacked them all inside there. Weighed this bag. This is a 2-pound bag of the coins of the realm. I'm just going to drop it in there and see, does it hold or does it snap right off? Hey, well, hang on. It caught on the side of the bag. Let's do it again, proper like. Yeah, there you go. 2 pounds worth of your coins of the realm. And this time, because they're secured onto your belt a little better, they won't actually be easily taken away by a cut purse. And there we have it. There is the foraging belt pouch. Now, it's not all roses and sunshine. There's a couple of minor things. I mentioned earlier the drawstring. It is supposed to, just secure up the top, cinch it in so that you can't have that bottle of mead go flying anywhere. But it isn't great. Like, it will, secure up the top a little bit there. But I find this drawstring, because it's not waxed or anything, it's a little like, you got a ream on it to tighten it up. It would have been nicer if it was a little more nylon-y type stuff. It doesn't, it expands out faster, but just trying to tighten the drawstring isn't great. Also, you do have that same problem I mentioned before, where walking through a doorway with this thing, now this is when it's all tightened up, walking through a doorway, getting into a car, that kind of stuff, you will find it's an extra item on your belt that you hadn't really anticipated, and you will occasionally nudge against a door. Just walking through, you'll occasionally, oh, right, I've got that thing there. Also, when it is deployed, you might find it's hard to put your hands in your pockets, so that's a thing. But, you know, those are very minor gripes for the fact you got a belt pouch that works wonders. And so there we go. The foraging belt pouch. I love having this thing on me along with my rope. I am ready for whatever adventures might come my way. If I need anything, if I need to swing across a drawbridge, well, I've got my rope for that. If I need to buy some keys, I've got my belt pouch ready to deploy. So it's great. Really, really like this thing. I'm finding that I am becoming more and more of a D&D adventurer in my everyday walking about than I'd ever anticipated. And this thing helps. All right, well, until next time, we'll see you down the rabbit hole.